question. Can you please give one example of properly assimilating the light released from the Archangels, and one example of rejecting the light? Thank you very much. Well, let's say that you are giving a decree to an Archangel. There are decrees to all of the Archangels on the Transcendence Toolbox website. I have, of course, in my Spiritual Toolbox playlist, I also have decrees to Archangel Michael. So let's say you're giving a decree, or you're listening to a dictation from an Ascended Master, and you from an Archangel, and you're meditating on the Archangel. And then you are sensing a stream of light from that Archangel. And you're not judging it, you're not evaluating it, you're just neutrally absorbing what is coming to you. And the light can take various forms. It can be just love. It can be just love, so that you feel loved, you feel enveloped in this love. And if you are just open to receiving it without having any particular intention, it can really go into your aura, and it can transform energy that's there, or it can just make you feel loved. It just gives you that frame of reference that beyond all the human love, the possessive love that you see on earth, there is that unconditional love of the ascended realm. So that would be one example where you're just absorbing it, not judging, not analyzing. You're not using it to validate any kind of story. Like, for example, that you're special because you had this experience. I go back when I was new on the spiritual path. I wanted to have some experience, extraordinary experience, because it would make my ego feel special. And of course, that's not, properly assimilating the light. So then, an example of how you're rejecting the light is that whenever you receive a light from an Ascended Master, you can say that it's as if your subconscious mind is a dark dungeon, and a ray of light shines into it, and it shines the light on something that's unresolved. So you can say that, as I said, there are sometimes it's just love, and I just want you to feel love. But other times the light is meant to illuminate some aspects of psychology, some unresolved self that you haven't looked at. And you can refuse to do that. You can refuse to look at it. You can even have this very subtle argumentation, reasoning process that comes from the ego of why you don't need to pay attention to this, why you don't need to look at it, why it isn't important to overcome this, why you've already overcome this, all kinds of things like this. So I would say that properly assimilating the light is you're just receiving it neutrally. No story, no evaluation. Not as rejecting the light is when you are not neutral. You might even feel that the light stirs up something in the subconscious mind, and you try to gloss it over. You refuse to look at things. You just want to go back to your normal sense of equilibrium, whatever that is. And you can feel this tension in you. You can feel this argumentation process that you don't really want to look at this. So that would be one way to describe it. I think but you also have to, I think, now you're talking about light here. And I understand that sometimes you're just receiving energy. It's just spiritual energy. But many times, at least what I've experienced, is that you're receiving something from the masters, and it can be from the Archangels or any other master, that is just, it's not really a thought. It's more like a subtle, intuitive impression, vision of something in your psychology that isn't resolved. And you can say that the light itself flushes it out, but this is more of a matrix that helps you see what it is you're dealing with. And so properly using that opportunity would be to say, what is it I need to see? You can ask the master, whichever master it is, to help you see it more clearly. And you could, for example, give decrees to a certain master to help you see it. And then being willing to look at it. Rejecting it would be, again, to allow the ego, the subconscious selves, to reason about it, gloss it over. Oh, you don't need to look at this. Oh, it's not important. You should focus on these other things instead. And so that's also rejecting the opportunity to look at something. And many times I would say that when we're receiving just light, it can be very intense, very powerful, and hard to deny. But these more subtle impressions, they can be more subtle, the still small voice within, and it's easy to not even notice or to just gloss it over. I can see how I've done that many, many times throughout the years. Usually then it will come back with more force later, or I would be in some kind of situation where I would act out the unresolved psychology, and all of a sudden I would say, oh my goodness, what am I doing? And then I'd be willing to look at it. But in many cases, if I'd been paying attention the first time, it would have been easier for me to resolve it without getting into a situation where it was harder to deny because I did something based on that psychology. So over time, you learn to pay more attention to these subtle things. And it's like, in a sense, you could say that over time it becomes an inner communion with the ascended masters. And my experience is not so much the archangels, because they're a little bit at a higher level. It's more the masters like the Chohan level, where they're working with us more directly. And you can get to a point where you're communing with the masters at that level, and you are almost daily receiving some kind of insight about your psychology, because you always keep the lines of communication open. You're always, in a sense, you're always having the question, what do I need to see next? Not consciously in your mind, but you've gone into that state of mind where you're open. And so whatever situation may come up, even if you're watching TV, you could suddenly have an insight, oh, this is what I need to look at. Oh, this is what I used to do. I just watched a TV show not long ago where I was catapulted back to my teenage years because the person on the TV show expressed certain feelings that I realized I used to have that when I was a teenager. And so I started looking at it, whether I had resolved it or not. And so you can have this, and this becomes a constant inner communion with the masters, where you basically, as you are ready to look at it, as you have dealt with the other things, you're receiving insights all the time.